Tonight, uncertainty hangs around the fate of Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party as he is yet to be discharged after a marathon of interrogation by the Criminal Investigations Department of the Police Service. We have details as the NPP has been expressing displeasure with how this has been handled by government.
We are supporting the government to do right and respect his civil rights. If there is anything wrong, let the law take its course, in my view. But for what happened the last time, I think that it is a sore on our democracy, and that should not be repeated again.
We'll take you to the CID headquarters where he is being interrogated for latest on this development. Here on Top Story, brought to you always by Telecel, Connecting Energies. Well, tonight, uncertainty hangs around the fate of Ashanti Regional Chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Bernard Entry Bosiako, as he is still being held in the custody of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Police Service after a marathon interrogation today. He availed himself to them this morning for questioning following a botched search of his house last Friday. Mensah Entry Bosiako, who is popularly known as Chairman to me, we understand is being held for questioning over activities of his mining company Akunta Mining in the Samra area of the Western region. Now listen to Chairman Wontumi at the headquarters of the CID today when he arrived earlier in the day.
Welcome to the CID. How are you?
My lawyer is there.
Your lawyer?
My lawyer is there.
Okay.
My lawyer is there. My lawyer is there.
Your lawyer?
My lawyer is there.
Okay.
My lawyer is there. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Where you are? How did that Listen, it's okay. No drama. No drama, please. Okay, sir. Give me a
So that was Chairman Wontumi interacting with media personnel there, and when they met his lawyer, now we understand the former Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame is acting as his legal representative in this particular matter. But speaking a while ago on the pulse on the Joy News channel, NPP Communication Director Richard Ahiaba expressed, some happiness with the process, but criticized the manner in which government has handled this matter in general.
As a party, we are law-abiding. The NDC was creating this impression, and I think that on your platform, the Deputy Interior Minister made some allusion to that. We are a law-abiding group of people, the New Patriotic Party. I'm sure he knows that, but politics won't allow him to accept it. But we are law-abiding. What we are opposed to is political victimization and a show of needless power. We are citizens first before politicians. So to me, his civil rights must be respected. And the way the government was approaching him, we think that was excessive, was needless, and not go to the appropriate route. We will support for that to be done, because it is what we have set up as a system for ourselves, that there must be accountability, that all of us are equal before the law. So the law is supreme. And so when people fall foul of the law, let's take the appropriate process and get them to exonerate themselves or be found guilty. And then when that happens, all of us would have nothing to say, but the law would prevail. So at this point, we're supporting the government to do right and respect his civil rights. If there's anything wrong, let the law take its course, in my view. But for what happened the last time, I think that it is a sore on our democracy, and that should not be repeated again.
All right, this is still a top story. Let's expand it and take you live to the CID headquarters, where my colleague Kenneth Jesse has been since morning monitoring the development on this particular story. Kenneth, what more or what have you gathered since morning? We came to you earlier in the day, but since then till now, what has been happening?
Well, Brace, let me put it on record that they did not allow us inside. They did not allow Joy News inside. I don't know for whatever reason, but when we were lurking around, from the little that we gathered, Chairman Wontumi told the press right after he was released by the Criminal Investigation Department that he is not engaged in illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. He's refuted those allegations that have been leveled against him. They were in a closed-door meeting for several hours, and we understand that they were there from morning until about 4:50, getting to 5 p.m., and then he has refuted all those claims of engaging in illegal mining. He says that he is a licensed miner, and that the government is trying to pursue him just because he's a political opponent, notably the chairman of the Ashanti regional branch of the New Patriotic Party. So he's denied all the charges that have been leveled against him.
So it means that we can confirm now that Chairman Wontumi has been released by the CID.
Exactly. After being in the CID office for several hours, you recall that he was almost arrested on Friday, but that arrest was botched, and then he decided to turn himself in. So he arrived at the CID headquarters today, and thankfully, after several hours with the CID officers, flanked by his lawyers, he has finally been released by the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service.
Did you see party faithfuls around to give him support?
Yes, party faithfuls I can't tell, but I saw some supporters, who were clad in red, but at least there were two people who identified themselves as party faithfuls of the New Patriotic Party, but there are about people who were not more than 10. Most of them had, red headbands and armbands showing their solidarity and showing support to the Ashanti regional chairman of the NPP, saying that the man is innocent, he's not engaged in illegal mining as is being reported. But we did not see large crowds as was seen last Friday at his residence in Kumasi. But there were pockets of people who identified themselves as NPP supporters who had come to show support for the Ashanti regional chairman of the NPP.
Do you know whether it's a done deal once he's been released?
We don't know as of yet.
Okay. His lawyer also didn't speak to the media when he left? Well,
the lawyer shared brief thoughts, but as I mentioned earlier, because we were not allowed inside, we do not have the thoughts of the lawyer that was shared after the media engagement. But of course, I'm engaging some of my colleagues to try and get that audio for it.
Okay, all right. I'm grateful to you. That's Kenneth Jesse, who has been monitoring the process for us. But this whole thing started on Friday in Kumasi, the residence of Chairman Wontumi, when the police service tried to pick him to conduct a search, because as we understand, they had a search warrant that they wanted to execute at his house. But the lawyers of Chairman Wontumi and himself were able to come to a compromise with the CID that he will, as had been agreed earlier, that he will avail himself to the CID today here in Accra, and that has been done. But how has the Ashanti region, especially or particularly Kumasi, been receiving this news? Let's go there to the Ashanti regional capital of Kumasi and speak to Nana Yaojima, who is our man there. Nana, so we know that Friday you were on the ground reporting on how this went out, but if you gauge the mood, how has Kumasi or the residents there been reacting to this whole development?
So people in the Ashanti region, Kumasi to be precise, are divided over the issue. According to some of the people, if indeed the NPP chairman has committed any unlawful act, then there is need for the act to be investigated. And if he is found culpable, he goes through the legal process. The others who believe that he wasn't a government official, so they believe that he's innocent of all the issues that they are talking about. So there's no need for him to go through the process. So the people of the Ashanti region at the moment are divided over the issue, monitoring the airways and conversations that are ongoing within the region or the city. Everything tells that the people within the Kumasi metropolis are divided over the issue. Last Friday, I was in the house of Chairman Wontumi, and the people who were there are basically NPP supporters, and all of them said that the government has no issue against Chairman Wontumi, and to them, there's no need for them to go through the process. So people in Kumasi, I can say, are divided over the issue.
Interesting. Have they heard the news that he's been released? And
yes.
Okay. And how are they reacting to it?
Yes, to MPP supporters, it's exciting, and it's a lead that shows that their party chairman has nothing to do with the issues that is being brought against him.
All right, Nana Ejuma, I'm grateful to you. Now, this also concerns him as Bernard Enchibo-Siako, who is the chairman of the NPP for the Ashanti region. So let's bring in the communications director of the party, Richard Anyagba, for his thought. Richard, grateful to you for joining us here. Now, have you confirmed that indeed Chairman Wontumi has been released from the CID headquarters?
Thank you very much. Certainly, yes. He's been released on bail after all this harassment, the freezing of his account, the creating of the impression that he had possibly done something wrong. The government didn't have any evidence to show that he's done anything. Now, while it's refreshing that he hasn't done anything wrong and perhaps just been let go, it is worrying that our government would be operating this way, harassing people without evidence, and then when faced with the person they accuse, they don't have any evidence to show, but by which time they would have harassed you, frozen your account, and whatever you suffer as a result of that process will just have happened to you for no cause. It's very sad. It's very sad. But to the extent that he's attended to their invitation and we now have clarity that all these conversation about Wontumi and Galamsey has been cleared, I think that is good for him.
But has he been cleared? You said he's been released on bail, which means the issue has not ended, not so?
Well, I mean, if there was any evidence, the government would have put it before him. They asked him if he was a Galamsey, he said no. And the fact is that the difference between a Galamsey and a legal small-scale miner is documentation. And he showed them his documentation allowing him to mine as a small-scale miner. And so if that evidence has been put to them, they haven't contradicted that documentation to say that it's fake or otherwise. The matter for me is clear, that the man doesn't have any further questions to answer. And that for me is refreshing, that all along when this impression was being created, the man has his documentation and properly within the law to mine at a small scale. And the question is government doing due diligence? Is government just punishing people's images because they feel that is going to serve their politics? Or they are seriously prosecuting this fight against Galamsey with due diligence, investigation, and ensuring that they are identifying those who are doing Galamsey and bringing them to book?
But Richard, aren't you concluding too early just because he's been bailed or released on bail?
No, I'm not concluding anything. I'm just saying that one of the questions that he was asked was whether or not he's a Galamsey. He said he's not. Why he's not, he showed them evidence, which is his documentation allowing him to mine legally. So the question to say that Wontumi is a Galamsey has been addressed. You understand?
Not
From that standpoint, yeah.
Not whether his his company was engaged or not in illegal mining practices, but just that he's been cleared of the fact that he is not a Galamsey. Is that it?
Yeah, so the question asked, so there are two fundamental questions, right? That first one is that, are you a Galamsey? I said no. Why he's not a Galamsey? We showed them documents. He didn't say he doesn't mine, but he mines legally. And as I mentioned to you, the difference between a Galamsey and a small-scale miner, legal small-scale miner, is the documentation to mine.
Yes.
So he showed them his documentation that here are my documents to show that I am mining legally. Then the question that followed is that, do you mine in the forest? He said, no, I don't. And the forest is under Forestry Commission. They are in charge of the forest, so they must have evidence to suggest who is mining there and who is not. So they should be able to provide the evidence. So government doesn't have any evidence. In fact, if you look at what has happened and the whole hullabaloo about him arresting and freezing his account, you would imagine that today he will be confronted with some evidence that will be beyond trying to provide any answers to. And so therefore, then there will be a cause established against him for all of us to see. But there's nothing like that. So then you ask yourself, what were all these things, what was it about? And that goes to the heart of the matter. We're saying that this government is just targeting its political opponents to victimize and silence people. Because if you don't have any evidence that Kojo, you have done anything wrong, why do we send all these NIB people to your house at dawn to embarrass you in front of your children, your family, and then freeze your account? And then you ask the man eventually when he shows up, the two questions you ask him, you don't have any contrary evidence to say that what he's saying is false, that he's provided documentation for you and indicated for you that he's not mining in the forest, and you don't have any counterfacts. Really? So this is classic political witch hunt, because his wound to me will target him and single him for treatment, because his MPP will target him and single him out for treatment. This is not right. This is not how this government should be fighting the Galamsey fight. This is not correct. So I think that beyond saying that he is cleared, I'm just saying that he has provided evidence that the government did not have any contrary fact to suggest that he's wrong, and therefore what he's provided is legitimate.
But have you averted your mind to the fact that it could be a strategy to rather present the evidence to him if the case goes to court, then they present the evidence there in court rather than to present it to him now? So
then, but only to me as they're asking to be taken to court all this while. So why haven't they gone to court? If you want to take him to court, why do you invite him to come there? What is he coming there to do? And if you invite him to come, you present him with the evidence of why he is guilty, why you need him. So charge him to court. You don't have to invite him to come. You don't have to send NIB if you have incontrovertible evidence to charge him. Right? So just charge him. But the point is that the way they are going just clearly tells you they don't have anything on the man. They just want to victimize. They want to create an impression. You know, one thing, this government, since they came, have not been able to do anything about the promises they have made. The Ejumara thing they say they have commissioned, what have you heard about it? The 1 million coders, nation coders thing that they've commissioned, the National Apprenticeship Program, they've commissioned them. What is happening? Okay. The tertiary first year fees that they said they were going to be paying, now the process is dragging on. They said people are filling applications and all of that. If anybody is going to school and you say you are going to help defray their costs, and for all this while, they finished the first semester already. They haven't paid their fees, right? So they are not doing anything they say they are going to do. Okay, so Richard, what they are engaged in is to do all these skirmishes to create the impression that they are doing something.
So, Richard, do stay with me. Let me bring in Senor Hosi. He, we understand, is one of those petitioners who sent the petition against Akunta mining to the CID last year. Senor, I'm grateful to you for joining us. First of all, confirm for us if indeed you are one of the petitioners, as we do know.
Hello?
Yeah, Senor, can you hear me?
Hello.
Great. I can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm one of the founders of the coalition against Galamsey.
Great.
I wasn't a petitioner, but I was part of the petition. We just had to have nominees of our group and our allied parties to do that. So we are still all part of it and we're working on it together. So,
what do you make of the process now that the CID has invited, Chairman Woon to me for questioning?
I think it's been so long overdue. I was quite embarrassed by the way government was handling it. You have evidence, you yourself have done your own documentaries. There was no reason why action shouldn't have been taken. Equally was I disappointed that citizens of the state could decide when they should be arrested and not arrested, or respond to the calling of the state when they are invited. That kind of lawlessness should not be entertained by any political party.
So you are generally not happy about how government has handled this matter?
Yes, I think it's been dragged again for political reasons. Nobody is a political god in this country. What is at risk is the future of not just ourselves, but our children's children. And if you have political power, your mandate is actually to pursue and drive that sustainability for all of us as a country, irrespective of who is in office. And that's where everybody's thought and thinking should be. Galamsey is not a joke. It's not political matter. And that's why I am not too tolerant when people want to just make this a political matter. It means that you really lose the sense of policy and the sense of quality actually for a political office or public office at any point in time. It's a very serious matter. The evidence was already out there around Woodme and his activities at Akunta Mining, or let me put it this way, Akunta Mining and his directors. All right. The former president made a big mistake. He maybe failed to understand, he failed to really understand the matter before making proper commentary on it, because his own minister contradicted what the president himself said. The man did not have the right to really do certain things that he did. When you breach this, you should definitely have been taken on. One thing we should understand, and I think I heard my brother speak. I didn't join him much early.
Richard,
please. You're somebody we all really have a lot of respect and appreciation for. Be a bit more modest in the approach in this matter. You don't have those things on your score. And as a political party, I said that the NPP must stand resolute against Galamsey, irrespective of who is on the table. As we have called for Akunta Mining. Hello?
You're on. We're listening to you.
Yes. While we have called for Akunta Mining to be held accountable for what is done, we are also expecting that the NPP will also join us in our call for action against the Awin MP, who has also been cited, and for which reason we've also written to the CID, and I was part of that directly. All right? We must call out anybody, irrespective of which party it is. And I don't think it is for any political party to want to even try and defend any human being over issues of Galamsey. You should rather facilitate the investigation so that we come to a proper conclusion. If nobody is guilty, nobody should be held to ransom under any circumstances, irrespective of any political party. But when we vote and we rush too quick to market and miss so much evidence, we may unconsciously impugn the import and the integrity of our political parties. So every political party should be careful on these issues of Galamsey. It is widespread. All political parties are involved. So if you have any government official, any government body trying to fight it, you support it. Because what is at stake is not about any political party. It's about the future of Ghana. It's about sustainability. It's about the sustainability of our children and our children's children. So let us all put down our political horses. I heard Woodme shouting and crying. He's been invited long time. He has not been cooperating. People went to his house. Nobody as a citizen, when you've been invited by a security agency, can decide not to and decide to go on your own terms. It's not right. We can't create any environment of lawlessness. You can't be called and you will say you alone, you won't be arrested. It's not correct. If you think you are innocent, go there and prove your case. And let's get it clear. Galamsey is not just about illegal mining. It's also about irresponsible mining. If you're also mining, even when you have license, you are mining irresponsibly and not according to the dictates of your mandate, that in itself is also a crime.
But so that's what Richard is saying.
I am happy he's been invited. Everybody must have his day in court. Everybody must have his see and his hearing on a matter, we can't just assume that the government is right. Wontumi may also have his own reasons to make his case. Let's give everybody a hearing and let's all advocate for an honest and fair process for everybody, both for the state and also for Akonta Mining and his political allies.
So is it your expectation that this case will end up in court? Because as we heard from Richard, no evidence was shown him to say that he was involved in any illegal activity. So is it your expectation that this particular case will end up in court?
As a spokesperson for Akonta Mining, if he's speaking as an observer of his political party, he's been doing a great job for his political party. It's a different matter. I won't put much weight on it. If he's a director of Akonta Mining, he should speak. If he's commissioned by Akonta Mining, to tell us. As we speak, from where we sit and the engagements we've had with the states prior to this government and with this current government, we have clarity in our heads that enough evidence has been gathered against Akonta Mining. And for which reason, the states must take a clear position on its prosecution, or they must clearly and publicly absolve Akonta Mining. Where we sit, we don't see any reason why the state cannot proceed with a prosecution. And for me, it is not about Wontumi. I don't care about the man. I don't even know him. Nobody even cares about him. What we care about is about the future of our country. So if he's not guilty, he cannot be and he should not be persecuted. But if he has questions to answer, he must answer them. Because if what we've seen in the documentaries and the evidence that has been put together suggests, it means that the destruction to our environment, to our water bodies is serious. Okay. It's not just about us. So it's not politics for us. It's not politics. There should be times where, as Ghanaians, we should know when it's politics and when it's not politics. And politicians in Ghana must be the first one to start showing that line. So I don't have tolerance for politicians who cannot draw that line. You must draw that line. Otherwise, you are not fit for public office in any shape or form. Okay. Ghana is always bigger than any parochial interest, and that must not be lost out on anybody at any point in time.
Okay, all right. I'm grateful to you, Senor Hosi, for joining us here. But Richard, you heard it there, that, look, you need to draw the line between when you say this is right and this is wrong.
Yeah, well, Senor is a very passionate person, and I support him in this cause. And I am very clear in my mind that Galamsey is not anything that we should support. So I don't support Galamsey. And I was not politicizing the matter. I was only giving commentary in relation to how government has handled this. And Senator himself indicated that he didn't like the way government has handled the matter. For all this while, if government has a reason to believe, which Senator is giving us an indication that there is evidence, ample evidence, why do you need him at an CID headquarters? That's not where you litigate the matter. They are investigating. If they have investigated and have incontrovertible evidence, charge the man to court. So what is the harassment about? That's where the politics comes in. So I'm sure Senator gets the point that this is where the politics come in. Okay? So if there is evidence that Wontumi is doing illegal, irresponsible mining, take the man to court.
Okay.
That's how it is.
Okay.
So if you then have NIB and the rest harassing people, freezing his account without reason, then that's where the politics come in. And so please, we support the fight against illegal mining. President Akufo-Addo put his presidency on it. That's public knowledge.
I'm grateful to you, Richard Anyaba is the communications director of the NPP. Earlier, you had Senor Hosi, who is a member of the, also a group that petitioned the CID against the activities of Akonta Mining. This has been Top Story brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies. My name is Samuel Brace. Up next is Newsnight.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, former Defense Minister Dominic Neto tears into the Mahama government, fighting off claims that the Akufo-Addo administration ran down the presidential jet, forcing Vice President Nana Akufo-Addo to charter a private jet.
especially at the age in which it is. They should just take it back to the Sultan France and get it fixed and stop the propaganda. Propaganda cannot run the Ministry of Defense or the government. It doesn't work that way.
Also tonight, fair fury as drivers and passengers lock horns over 15% transport fare cut directive following the strengthening of the cedi against major trading currencies.
It's not yet 15%. Some are still meant almost like they've not even reduced it. Previously, it was 8 cedis. I paid from Teshi to Circle 7 cedis.
I was supposed to pay 10 cedis, but it's 8 cedi 50 pesos that they took from me this morning. So I think it's working.
We'll hear the justification from the drivers.
Every group has leadership, and we go according to what they say. They ask us to charge 9 cedis from 8 cedis, and that is what we are working with.
Also tonight, minority in parliament slams government's shock move to shut down its Washington embassy over fraud claims.
For you to come out and say that because of a certain fraud allegation, you are closing the entire embassy, that is an embodiment of a country in another man's land, that we disagree.
In sports,
Black Stars head coach Otuado looking forward to stern test from Nigeria in Wednesday's Unity Cup clash.
And in business, President John Mahama announces plans to reopen domestic bond market and return to the international capital market as well.
You want to stay with us for all that, plus your views and comments. 055 1111997. Details after this.
Telecel Cash has the lowest transfer charges ever in Ghana. Send it keke with Telecel Cash. You for sort out your old boy, send it keke. Your girl they bill you, send it keke. Merchant payment, send it keke to all networks. T-Cash agents in Swatch baby. You won't buy some 1212, send it keke. And even better, T-Cash to T-Cash transfers are still free on the Telecel Play app. Telecel Cash is a secure and convenient platform for cash transfers across all networks and anywhere mobile money transactions are made. Dial *110# to send money at the lowest charges ever, or download the Telecel Play app to send cash to T-Cash wallets for free. Telecel Cash, send the keke.
Brush your teeth every day and night, up and down and all around. Brush the clean and bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath and in between, brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
For 10 times stronger.
This advert is FDA approved.
Sidina Buano. The rewards are big with Compute Ghana. Get extra savings, extra value on everything you buy at Compute Ghana. All thanks to the Macho CD. This is not just your regular Prime Week, this is Prime Week Extra. That's right, as your CD goes further, Prime Week goes extra. Enjoy our slash prices across all IT, mobile and home appliance brands as much as up to 50% off. Visit any Compute Ghana showroom or website to shop from Prime Week Extra and let your CD rule the discount. Call 030-275-2020 or WhatsApp 024-314-3143 for enquiries. This Prime Week is extra. Save more.
It's a live your news night is on Joy 99.7 FM. Tonight, former Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwo is tearing into the John Dramani Mahama government, fighting of claims the NPP government ran down the presidential jet, forcing the Vice President, Professor Nana Jeno Pokuagyuman, to charter a private jet to fly her to Ghana from the UK, where she's been receiving medical care. According to him, the government must come out clear on the real reasons for which they rented the jet and stop hiding behind what he calls propaganda against the former government. We'll hear from him pretty shortly, but what really triggered this was a statement that was put out, a post that was made by the current defense minister, Dr. Mani Boama, that has now incurred the wrath of the former defense minister. My colleague Papani Ashali is with me in the studio with details of this. So first of all, give us context. What started this and what did Mani Boama say?
So the minister wrote, and the minister referring to Dr. Mani Boama, quote, "Let the NPP that suffered the most humiliating defeat in recent memory in both the presidential and parliamentary elections know this." And he goes on to give us 3 points. 1. Akufo-Addo's administration ran down the presidential jet. Among others, its fuel tank is even corroded. And then to the second point, he says the presidential jet has been in the hospital, quote unquote, abroad for maintenance, repair and overhaul, and may be put in fairly usable state after 3 months of therapy. Then he concludes and says that the presidential jet is unfit for use presently, unquote, Evans.
Thankfully, we can speak to the former Defense Minister, Dominic Neto, who joins us live right now. Mr. Neto, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. So why did you run down the presidential jet if you are to believe the current Defense Minister?
First of all, good evening, and good evening to your listeners. First, I'm not too sure that I want to believe that the minister actually wrote this. But if indeed he did write this, then he has to revise his notes by simply talking to his officers at Air Force. They have all the records. So in 2023, I actually was in Parliament to inform the people of Ghana that our presidential jet had problems. It's for that reason that the former president was using rented jets. The same reason they are giving today, that is having problems. That's why they are renting. They rented a jet for their vice president. They did politics with the presidential jet, and we told them that when you come to government, your own propaganda will expose you. And that's exactly what has happened. Because you will realize that when you are running a state and you are the executive, at some point, you may have to rent a jet. They said no, you could use commercial. So I'm even surprised that the vice president didn't use commercial. But let's put that aside. We are not against anybody renting a jet. I will never be against today. I'll never be against tomorrow. I've never been against it. But the truth is that we detected that this presidential jet had problems. And it was due for servicing. We took the jet in July of 2023, hoping that the normal servicing within 1 month, the jet will be in. When it went to France, as I told the country before, the jet, they detected that the fuel tank had problems. There were some corrosions and some other things there.
Well, Dr. Manibam also mentioned the corrosion, by the way, in his post.
So that's why I said he could talk to if he had just spoken to the Air Force, we would have known that the jet stayed in France for 8 months simply because of that problem, so that they could put it well, they could put it they could make it fit for purpose, and they could ensure that the jet could fly. Because for the 8 years, we have always serviced this jet at the time it was expected to be serviced. In fact, he should know that the jet flies on a certificate. Every aircraft flies on a certificate given by the manufacturers. So if you don't have the certificate to fly, if the jet or the aircraft is not airworthy, the manufacturers will not allow you to fly it. If you do, you are only doing it at your own risk. And we have never done that, not once. So this jet was in France instead of the normal 4 weeks. It stayed for 8 months, or close to 9 months. It came back in March 2024. And if you realize, from March 2024, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo started using the jet. So March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, the former president used this jet any time and every time he wanted to travel.
So he used it for 9 months?
He did. So he used it to travel outside the country, within West Africa, within Africa, and outside Africa. He did that for the 9 months.
After the 9th month, did it require further maintenance after the 9 months?
No, it didn't. It didn't. It didn't at all. In fact, it didn't go out for another maintenance. We handed over the jet to them. They were not using it. It is the reason I spoke in Parliament and said that the jet was serviceable. It simply means that the jet could fly. It was airworthy because we had done all the servicing and brought it. If 4 months later, you have detected a problem. You have to take it back to report to the manufacturers and take it back to them so that they can work on it.
Well,
you don't do propaganda.
Well, he's very clear, though, that this is not a problem that they just discovered. This is a problem that you left for them to fix, and it's going to be there for 3 months.
I have always said that the sort, that is Airbus, will not give you airworthiness unless the jet is airworthy. There's no way Nana Addo Akufo-Addo would have flown that jet for 9 months if the jet could not fly. It's not possible. You cannot do it. He knows. He should know by this time that an aircraft is not like a car that you think you can run down. It's not possible. You cannot fly it if it's not airworthy. Nobody will even give you a landing permit. You cannot fly it outside Ghana. You cannot fly it anywhere. Because they will not give you landing permit because the manufacturers will let everybody know that this aircraft is not airworthy. So please, I think that he should find a better explanation for why they rented the jet for the vice president.
But as defense minister, you know, on this particular matter, he would have received briefing before he put out that statement on his page.
Trust me, I can bet my life that no Air Force officer will make the sort of statement that was made that it was run down. Never. Because they are the very people who handle the servicing. It's not the ministers. And we never at any point said that we didn't have money to service the jets. Neither at no point did we say that we will not send the jets for servicing if it was due for servicing. So it is not possible for anybody, any officers who have said that it was run down. It's not possible. In fact, let me say something to you. It is even more dangerous to the integrity of Airbus itself, the manufacturers, for anybody to suggest that they allowed a jet that was not airworthy to fly. You are damaging the company. Trust me, if this is found to be true, that they allowed us to fly a jet that was not airworthy, their company stocks will crash because nobody's going to buy their aircraft. It's simply not possible. They will not do it. It's not a bicycle.
You also seem to suggest that the excuse of the presidential jet being run down, they just want to cover for the real reason why the vice president hired a private jet.
First of all, I am not in charge of, or I don't oversee the working of the presidential jet because I'm not more the minister. So I will not doubt the minister if he says the presidential jet has problems. I won't doubt that. Because it's a machine. It can develop, you can repair it today and tomorrow it can develop another problem. So I am not arguing with him on that side. But all I say is that for him to suggest, even for a minute or a second, that we deliberately run down the jet and so because of that the jet is unserviceable and can only become scrap, it's simply not true. That's the first thing. The second thing is that if they rented a jet for the vice president, they should find a better reason. Instead of saying that we ran down this jet, that's why they were forced to rent a private jet. Did the vice president say he couldn't sit in a commercial aircraft? Did she say that she couldn't sit in British Airways or Emirates first class or British Airways first class or Qatar Airways? Did she say that? No, simply no. I don't believe she said that.
Your colleague, ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, Dominic Kojo, had asked Ablakwa, the Foreign Affairs Minister, to resign because he had in the past criticized your government at the time when you were the Defense Minister, where the President did not use a presidential jet but hired a private jet, and had said that if this had happened again under their watch, this is a decision that he would take. You side with Kojo's demands for him to resign?
Well, you're a man who has integrity and who stands by your word, and you make a promise to the people of Ghana, you have to fulfill that promise. So if indeed the table we've seen is not artificial intelligence generated or is not fake, but it's real, that he actually went to the studios of Doom FM to promise the people of Ghana that if any of the top people, especially the president and the vice, were to rent an aircraft and not use either the presidential jet or the commercial one, he will resign. It is for him to honor that pledge.
I mean,
it is not even for us to ask him.
And this is what you're referring to.
So why shall I stay there? Why resign it? Because and do the same thing.
NDC banana power di any mono coffee fasa private jet now who are being you resign.
I'll resign because what may resign it. Why shall I stay there? May resign it because there may is some principle and yet personal and yes say they are made time President Akufo-Addo and as I mean President Akufo-Addo. It's the principle. It's about protecting the public purse.
Yes, education minister na oda olam kwese mo abe resign.
Oh, may resign. My resign free appointments committee of parliament.
And the appointment committee no say ya ni twa allowance mo kwa na mo jeje ana bibi wo ba bia minimum.
Appointments committee we just committee.
Well, that's in there talking on our sister station. That's Samuel Kojo Tablaka, currently Foreign Affairs Minister, making the point that he will resign if they are in power and any senior officials decide to use a presidential jet. But Dominic Nitiwo, the circumstances, though, are different. This is a vice president who we know was taking ill, spent some time in the UK, was returning to Ghana. The defense minister says the presidential jet was not in good condition, and she simply did not have a choice in the matter why they resorted to using the private jet. The circumstances are different.
I think that excuse is very short. It's laughable. And I don't think that anybody asked Honorable Ablakwa to make that promise to the people of Ghana. He did not say that he's saying it based on circumstances. He said he will resign. If I were him, I would have resigned. I would not even have waited for the president to come and tell me this. I will just honorably go because he says that it's a man of principle. So we are waiting. It is he who made the promise. So we are waiting for him. It is not me who made the promise. He never asked about circumstances. He never said, oh, if this happens, if that doesn't happen. He simply said, if they were to rent it, he will resign. Your lady was pointing out to him the dangers of the promise. But he didn't even pay attention. He stuck to it. He said he has principles. And so he's going to do that. So it is not for us. It's for him to respond. And if he doesn't, the people of Ghana will look at him from that angle. But to say that, circumstances and that place, it won't wash at all. Listen, if we do not take politicians by their words and have to allow them to find excuses based on circumstances, this country will go nowhere.
On the subject of what really is wrong with the current presidential jet, Parliament resumes tomorrow. You've been on the floor many times on the subject of the presidential jet. Is this something that you want to get clarity on?
Well, I think that I will try and speak to my colleague because I expected him to do that. And I even expected Ablakwa to do that to me. So I give them that reference and speak to him on the side. And if there's a need to drag into Parliament, I will do it. But obviously, I'm not the ranking. The ranking is in team for the Honorable, in team for the Reverend. If there's a need for him to escalate it to the floor of Parliament and invite the minister, we will do it. But like I said, if the aircraft has an issue, I don't have a problem with that. But to suggest, even for a second, that somebody deliberately ran an aircraft because of that is not airworthy is not true.
Thank you very much, Dominic Nitiwo, is MP for Bimbilla and former defense minister. Now, some commercial drivers are brazenly defying the directive by their union leaders to cut transport fares by 15% while passengers feel the pinch, resulting in a tense standoff on the roads. Now, the situation is causing frustration of commuters who are being forced to pay higher fares. The directive is aimed at providing relief to passengers following recent strengthening of the cedi against the dollar and other major currencies. But the defiance by some drivers is undermining the impact of the cedi's gains as well as the effectiveness of the order. We'll soon speak to John Lucius Collins from PON, who stepped out to assess the situation. But before then, let's hear from President Mahama urging more businesses to reduce the price of their goods as he welcomes the move by groups like GPLTU to reduce transport fares. He spoke at the Ghana CEOs Summit.
And work to maintain a conducive environment for your businesses to thrive. Let me take the opportunity to commend those of you who have responded to the cedi's appreciation by reducing prices of your products and services and thereby passing some of the relief from the hardship to Ghanaians. And so, Oka and all of you, thank you very much. GPRTU, thank you very much. And so, for those of you who have not responded yet, please pass on some of the CD appreciation to Ghanaians. The time has come for us to lift the gloom, to restore confidence, and to build again. And as I said in my inauguration, Ghana is open for business again.
Collins joins me, and Collins, for clarity, for those who today would have encountered drivers who were charging fares they simply did not understand, what's the directive from GPRTU?
Well, Evans, according to the GPRTU's published fares, routes that previously cost 10 cedis should now cost 8 cedi 50 pesos, and a 9 cedi fare should be reduced to 7 cedi 50 pesos. And if you used to pay 17 cedis, that should now be 14 cedi 50 pesos.
Okay, so on your way home tonight, rush hour, bear that in mind. But you went out, you found that there's tension now in vehicles and in lorry stations and terminals all across Accra.
Actually, the directive, based on what happened today, actually it's quite opposite. So if you committed between Dansoman and Circle today, you paid 9 cedis and not 8 cedi 50 pesos. From Medina to Accra, the fare was 8 cedis, down just 1 cedi from the previous 9 cedi, instead of the 7 cedi 50 pesos set by the GPRTU. I spoke to several drivers at the Circle bus terminal who admitted they are charging these adjusted rates, which fall short of the union directives. Some of them tried to justify why.
We have been asked to reduce fares, but cost of living is still high. If it does not come down, I will stop the driving and go back to illegal mining. Previously, we charged 9 cedis, but we are charging 8 cedis now, which is not helping us. Right now, we are charging 8 cedis. I will urge the government to bring back the smaller denominations and make it compulsory for usage to reduce the prices of some commodities like water. Every group has leadership, and we go according to what they say. They ask us to charge 9 cedis from 8 cedis, and that is what we are working with. Some time passed, we were to charge 11 cedis, but due to considerations, we had to charge 10 cedis. Suppose we were to go by that, we would have to charge 10 cedis now.
I want to take you to Kumasi now, the Ashanti regional capital. The story is the same.
I
would be lying if I said we are not affected by the reduction in fares. I am a driver and I have to buy brake fluid. It used to cost 7 cedis, but now it's 40 cedis. Why is it that the person selling it hasn't reduced their price, but drivers are expected to lower theirs? Initially, the fare from Tech to Ebuakwa was 11 Ghana cedis, but it's now 9 cedis 50 pesos.
So, some drivers there. What about you? We went on the streets, got a few views from many terminals. This is what you told us.
It's not yet 15%. Some are still meant almost like they've not even reduced it. Previously, it was 8 cedis. I paid from Teshi to Circle 7 cedis. But now I just pay for my boy to school. I gave them 10 cedis. They gave me 5 cedis 50 pesos. So it's not yet 15%.
I say I'm from Chiblo to Circle, and I've experienced it. I'm supposed to pay 10 cedis, but it's 8 cedi 50 pesos that they took from me this morning. So I think it's working.
It's 7 cedis. So now it's 6 cedis. Okay. So it seems it started on Saturday that they reduced the price, but some of them took it effectively today.
I want to bring in Abbas Moro. He speaks for the GPLTU, joins us on the line right now. Emmanuel Yeboah is the General Secretary of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, also joins us. Abbas, grateful that you could join us here on Newsnight. You issued a directive. What's your reaction to what we're hearing? Your drivers are charging something completely different.
Yeah, good evening to listeners. We've had a lot of complaints as well, from all over the country as well. Some have complied, some haven't complied. But the education side is, each time we meet with the Transport Ministry, who also defend the general public and take a decision, then that becomes a law for all of us. Likewise, either upward adjustment or the decrease system that we just experienced. So it's just unfortunate that some people will come up and say, I am not going to comply. And surprisingly, I haven't heard the Transport Minister saying something as at now. I'm surprised.
I mean, what do you want him to say?
Oh, yes, of course. He is the head of the transport industry, and he is aware of the decision taken. We took this decision, and at least by now that everybody has heard, some of the people have complied, but not all. There are few recalcitrant ones. At least he, being the minister, should by now come up and say something. At least ask the police to make sure the law is being complied with, or anything else will make sure that people will comply with the current law. But he has also kept quiet. And I'm surprised that Saturday, Sunday, today Monday, he has also allowed some of the people to do things the way they wanted to. I don't think we should wait till somebody is being attacked, beaten and killed before the authorities will come up and say, oh no, we have laws in the land. The law says currently everybody should reduce by 15%. Why are you not reducing? We shouldn't wait till something happens. I'm pleading with those in authority to make sure we are not law enforcing agencies. Whenever any law is made, they have to make sure that law is being patronized by the citizens. So I'm surprised. Someone even said, yes, he has experienced the fuel reduction, but spare parts has not been reduced. Once later part in 2022, we reduced lorry fare by 15.3% in 2022. Why? It was only fuel in the early months of 2022, which went up, and within that year, we were able to increase lorry fares. Not long from the increment, then the fuel started declining. It declines to some extent that we have to reduce lorry fares by 15.3%. What happens to that? Is it not the same thing that we are experiencing now?
Stay with me, Abbas. I want to bring in Emmanuel Yeboah. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. Emmanuel, what is the council doing about the situation currently? You hear the GPLTU calling for help from the authorities to rein this in.
Well, thank you very much. It's unfortunate we are having this report, because one would expect that since last Saturday, things would have fallen in the right place. But unfortunately, with the story we are hearing, that is suggests that we have even up to about 50% compliance, which is quite serious. The issue we have now is largely about the operational system that we have in Ghana. Most of our drivers, especially the truck drivers, don't load from terminals, and that makes it difficult for implementation. So I'm calling on the city authorities to at least provide a terminal space so that most of the truck, if not all, we can load from the terminal. We want to load from the terminal, there's some leadership and some control.
Yeah, I mean, that that solution is not something that you can implement overnight. In the meantime, the commuters want to enjoy the benefits.
Let me drive at something. You see, the issue is that we expect them to comply, and they are not doing so. I think the city authority also have a role to play, because these terminals, we have city guards. If you go to Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly for now, I have a letter, a notice that they issued to operators, saying if you don't comply, they will apply some level of force and all that. So I expect that this triggers throughout the country, so that everybody will take the measures AMA is taking to ensure compliance. So I think that is for now. That's about going forward. I think we should have a more regulated terminal so that this thing can be kept.
I mean, immediately though. I mean, what can the council do, collaborating with the ministry to enforce this?
No, like I said earlier, we are collaborating. We are doing quite a number of discussions behind the scenes. We are calling them personally, trying to interact and maybe encourage them to do.
If the encouragement fails, if the encouragement fails, as we've seen is failing, what happens?
Well, of course, the law is there to take its course. Except that we the leadership, we don't have any power to prosecute or maybe arrest anybody. But once it's generally accepted that anybody who does that is flouting the law, and the relevant authorities can maybe see where they can do their implementation of the law and get it enforced. Fine, we don't have any problem.
I mean, Abbas, very quickly, for commuters who currently, many listening to you right now, having to deal with the challenge of uncertainty around the fares, what should they do if you board any of the public transport to a destination of yours and you're not charging the fare that you have approved? What should a passenger do?
I earlier on said, I'm still repeating that we should all try to comply. I'm told some few unions have complied. It's not exactly up to the 15%, but the passengers are not complaining compared to those who are not complying. They are not the same. So I keep saying, any recalcitrant driver who refuse to comply, the passengers whom he has cheated should hand him over to the police. Because as of today, you can't say you don't know how to calculate the 15%, or you haven't heard about how much you should take out from your distance that you apply. Meaning, I heard some driver whom one of the station interview says, engine too much, engine too much. I mean, look at how he speaks, you see. So if one or two people are being brought to book, for everybody to know that the laws are there, if you haven't fall foul, don't think we don't have laws guiding us. I think that will change our attitude.
Thank you, Abbas Moro. He speaks for the GPLTU. Earlier, I had Emmanuel Yeboah, General Secretary of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. George Rafe is here. George, you haven't used public transport in a long time, but the suggestion by Abbas Moro tonight that if you feel cheated by the driver, you should hand him over.
Citizens arrest.
Exactly.
But the official from the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council made a very interesting submission that he's saying that from their checks on the ground, about 50% of the drivers are not complying. And I believe that when it comes to unionized drivers, a chunk of these drivers are part of GPRT. They operate from terminals. I mean, to have more than 50% not complying, the argument about they needing a terminal to enforce is actually washed down, because if it's more than 50%, these drivers often or most of them operate from terminals. So what lies the argument about having a terminal will make it easier to enforce these fares? It's interesting. I mean, what is happening right now?
Yeah,
and even
it is interesting.
among some traders as well.
Yeah, among traders. And tonight on PMS, that's exactly what we're doing. We're bringing the traders, we're bringing the transport operators themselves, we're bringing businesses, we're bringing the AGI, etc. Because everybody else who must adjust anything for us to feel this in our pocket, we need to hear from them, right? I mean, government says, well, the policy is very clear. You're seeing the CDs as appreciation, and so make sure that we can feel it. if that doesn't happen, that it's pointless until we begin to feel this in our pocket. So we need to talk to the drivers, talk to the market women, and the market women will join us on PMFS. I mean, we want to understand the psychology behind it. Rarely do you see this sort of appreciation, and then you say reflect. No,
but even in economics,
exactly. Right?
That's theory,
and that is what we really want to sort of unpack a bit tonight. Understand the dynamics there. Why we are not seeing prices fall as quickly as the cedis is appreciating.
Evans, I mean, somewhere in January you were looking at somewhere around over 15 Ghana cedis to $1. I mean, now you're doing somewhere around 10 Ghana cedis. And the interesting thing is that, Evans, this didn't happen overnight. I mean, we've seen the cedi being fairly stable for a long time, and then the after April wave, if I can use that expression, where it jumped up significantly. So you even have some number of weeks and days to work with, and I agree it has to be gradual, but you've also ran at some of the major outlets are already doing that. I mean, there's a shop that was supposed to be an official distributor for Apple products. I mean, iPhone 16, we understand, was going for somewhere around 37,000. It's dropped to about 30,000 Ghana cedis, you know, and the argument was that, I mean, this week they'll be dropping prices as well for all the other products. Well, Evans, in other business news, President John Mahama announces plans to reopen the domestic bond market and return to the international capital market, but assures that, I mean, the borrowing will be linked to self-financing projects. And Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama reminds businesses about cedi being the sole legal tender, insisting the regulator will not hesitate to crack the whip. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Synthesis tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal.
The other day, I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information. We are good together everywhere you go.
M&C Group is a leading investment holding company with expertise in minerals and food commodity trading, precious minerals refinery, real estate development, and logistics and energy. With individually registered companies, our headquarters is located in Accra, Ghana, with operational offices in Dubai, UAE, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou in China, Johannesburg in South Africa, Virginia in the USA, and Milan, Italy. We connect business markets and drive growth. Trust us to maximize value in every deal. Call us on 0302 551 917 or 0302 551 918 or send us an email mncgroup@mncgroupgh.com. MNC Group, totally reliant.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209 or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Brush your teeth every day and night. Up and down and all around. Brush like clean and bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath and in between. Brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
For 10 times stronger.
This advert is FDA approved.
Sasso, sasso, come tonton preco. Sasso, sasso, come tonton preco. Edrana drami nebu seshe. Yeah, how can see any malaria? Minya me pone me sasso spray. Every mosquito study run away. Come tonton preco. Sasso, sasso, mi se come tonton preco. Come tonton preco. Sasso, come tonton preco. Na ni sham ne die e demo stronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, President John Mahama has announced plans to reopen the domestic bond market and return to international capital borrowings. The President disclosed this at the 9th CEO Summit in Accra. President Mahama, however, insisted that this will not be business as usual when it comes to borrowing these funds.
We're working to reopen Ghana's bond market in collaboration with the IMF and our development partners, the Ghana Stock Exchange and local banks. However, future borrowing will be linked to self-financing commercially viable projects, particularly by MDAs, MMDAs, and SOEs, ensuring value for money and sustainable repayment. The third is strengthening sovereign funds and local government financing. We'll amend the Public Financial Management Act and Constitution to make contributions to the sinking and stabilization funds mandatory. It will not be optional. So a certain percentage of funds must be committed to the sinking and stabilization funds. We also intend to empower MMDAs to issue infrastructure and municipal bonds secured against a portion of their district assemblies common fund to fund infrastructure projects such as roads, schools, water systems, and local industry in the districts.
Meanwhile, President John Mahama is proposing some innovative means to effectively aid the collection of road tolls in the country.
We said in the budget that we're going to reintroduce road tolls. And so they've been talking about, what the modality should be and all that. But the good thing today is every car is linked to the owner's Ghana card. And so we don't need to have the old toll gates and those cards that you stand and open and all that. We'll just go straight digitalized. If it's one city, if you cross the East Legon Bridge, governor and finance minister will all be happy. We'll just take a picture of your car and then it will take the bill to your mobile money or your bank account and just pay one city, only one.
President John Mahama. The Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama has reminded businesses about the city being the sole legal tender for all financial transactions in the country. Dr. Isiama has therefore given the firm assurance that the Bank of Ghana would not hesitate to crack the whip in enforcing these regulations. The governor was speaking to businesses at the 9th CEO Summit in Accra.
The city, our city, remains the only legal tender in Ghana. And I put that in capital letters. The CD is the only legal tender in Ghana. And as businesses, we must ensure that transactions going forward are conducted in our local currency.
And that's the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama. Now, Finance Minister Dr. Atuforsen has announced that he will personally lead a new government that is policy that will seek to restrict items that are imported into the country but can be manufactured locally. The Finance Minister noted the move is part of efforts to stimulate domestic manufacturing, job creation, and protection of local industries. Dr. Forson disclosed this when members of the Plastic Manufacturers Association paid a courtesy call on him at his office. Now, the Ghana Chamber of Mines has maintained that they will continue selling a fraction of its gold output to the Bank of Ghana. Now, there have been reports that with the starting of the gold board operations in Ghana, the mining firms may now have to be forced to sell their gold to the gold board. But the chief executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Dr. that is Ahmed Togman, says that they will be still sticking with the Bank of Ghana.
Well, for us, we have the agreement with the Bank of Ghana. So we'll continue on that tangent. Mm-hmm. If the Bank of Ghana re-engages us, or somebody else re-engage and say that, look, now this is what's supposed to happen, we'll look at the detail. It's about selling to, whether we are selling to you, or we are selling to Kwesi, or we are selling to Ama. It's about selling the same gold and under the same kind of similar conditions. Why not? I mean, no, it's not about the gold board and Bank of Ghana. It's about, look, using some of Ghana's gold to shore up our currency. And companies are willing to sell to the right person under the right conditions.
So, I ask this question because some of your members are multinationals.
Yes.
And when it comes to some of these things, they are very particular about how things are done, the transparency and
agreement with the Bank of Ghana. And that is what we are following. We haven't heard anything. We haven't been approached by anybody. We've heard about the gold board. We know what we thought was that we're buying from small-scale mining companies to buy from them and that. If anything has changed, that is the dialogue. Like I say, the questions that we're asking here, that's the questions that will be asked.
Ahmed Togman is the acting chief executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. Let's turn our attention to the stock market. And if you were a shareholder of MTN Ghana, today you lost 2 pesos for each share that you're holding. And the value is now worth 3 Ghana cedis, 18 pesos. Bank also is now worth 59 pesos after going down by a peso. Access Bank, on the other hand, was up by 92 pesos to close at 10 Ghana cedis, 12 pesos. And that's all for business on News Night. Back to you, Evans.
Thank you very much, George. And you want to join us on PM Express later tonight? We are having the pocket analysis on the back of what appears to be a rebounding economy.
Price stickiness.
Anchored on the CDs. Exactly. Anchored on the CDs appreciation. You join that group of individuals and businesses responsible for ensuring that you feel it in your pocket. Let's see what they are thinking. Yeah. The conversation is on PM Express tonight at 9 p.m. Let's do sports now.
The Black Stars are in the news, and their head coach Otto Addo, he says the 2025 Unity Cup is an opportunity for him to keep a close eye on his players. Ghana's senior national team are currently in London for the return of the tournament, with Otto Addo naming a 23-man squad earlier today. He feels the competition will be a great platform for some players to leave a mark in the minds of the technical staff.
It's difficult to say. So Iñaki has been out, for example, for 3 weeks. There's nothing we can do. Kudos, he came to the hotel today and visited the players. So there are different things. All the culture meets. It's a big festival. It's very, very nice to be here, and surely we are using this opportunity to do further tests, to test our players, to see our players on a very, very high level. And we're happy that we are getting this opportunity. And for us, it's surely a good test for the upcoming World Cup qualifying games in September.
Now, the squad is without some high-profile players, with Mohamed Kudus, Thomas Partey and Antoine Semenyo all missing. However, there have been some return of some 5 debutants in the team. Otto Addo has explained why some of these big guns are absent from the squad.
It's difficult to say. So Iñaki has been out, for example, for 3 weeks. There's nothing we can do. Kudos, he came to the hotel today and visited the players. So there are different things. So we are still bonding. We are connecting. We're trying to do the best. But if somebody's injured, there's nothing we can do. And we have to look at the games. On the other side, it gives opportunity for a lot of other players. And this is how football is. At the moment, it's not only us, but also other teams have a lot of injuries. Some are very, very serious, and some are maybe just lightly.
That was Black Stars head coach Otto Addo. Bring that into sports. Back to you, Evans.
Thank you very much. A few of your messages on our WhatsApp console now. Buchi Philip from Keta says, seriously, transport fares remain constant in the Keta district. From Keta Market to Ketebusco Junction is 5 cedis. Even motorbike riders are charging very exorbitant prices in the Keita constituency too. Fee in Kede says the government has caused financial loss as we taxpayers with the arrest of Wuntumi and Adenta Kumi. They should send the case to court and let's see how it goes. George from Malam Bawi says, I can't believe the MPP guys are now talking freely thanks to JDM and the NDC government. Ghana is now free. Shem Mixing Yeboah says the private jet matters again. We need national conviction and cohesion and a mere political party affiliations. Let's forget about the NDC and the MPP. Ghana deserves better, he says. Well, today, former board chairman of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Professor Ameya Kumfi, has officially been charged with 4 counts, including willfully causing financial loss to the state in the ongoing Urban Sky train trial for his involvement in the suspicious payment of some 2 million for the undelivered train system. My colleague Latif Idris was in court today and filed this report, including the report that he pleaded not guilty.
Professor Ameya Kumfi today appeared in court. In fact, he appeared in a wheelchair. He also had a walking stick and he had some medical tapes strapped around his wrist, signaling or suggesting that just maybe he was coming out of the hospital. Because if you recall, he had been at the University of Ghana Medical Center for the past weeks undergoing medical treatment. His lawyer made a forceful submission before the trial judge that his client had undergone hip surgery and he's also been declared to be hypertensive, and so he needed consistent attention, otherwise that will be injurious to his health. Having heard his arguments, the trial judge admitted Professor Christopher Ameya Kumfi to a 10 million Ghana cedis bail with 2 sureties, both to be justified with landed property in the national capital of Accra. He is also expected to submit his traveling document to the court. His sureties are also expected to provide the digital address to the court. Professor Ameya Kumfi, unlike his co-accused, that is Solomon Asamoah, who is supposed to report 3 times in a week to the police, Professor Ameya Kumfi is asked to report once to the police as part of his bail condition. So for now, Mr. Ameya Kumfi has been granted bail. We understand he's been remanded into the custody of the National Investigation Bureau until he's able to meet this particular bail condition that has been set for him. Some big wigs of the New Patriotic Party were in court in solidarity. We saw SK Boafo. We also saw Kennedy Ejapong. There was also Martin Ajay Kosa. They were all of them were in court to solidarize with the former education minister and former post and harbour minister under the Eswal Kufuor administration. The case has been adjourned, and when it's recalled, case management is expected to take place. Join us, the court complex.
And that there is Latif Idris with that report from court. Now, the minority in parliament has strongly criticized the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa's decision to temporarily close Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. over alleged corruption and fraudulent activities involving some staff there. According to Okudzeto-Ablakwa, the closure was necessitated by the discovery of local staff charging unauthorized fees of up to $60 for services rendered to clients without the ministry's knowledge. However, Deputy Ranking Member on the Foreign Affairs Committee and MP for Busome Freho, Nana Asafo J.I.M., has described the decision as, quote, not well thought through and warned it will have significant costs for the country.
That there should have been so much more consultation, so much more diplomacy and tactfulness to this whole matter. Now, the embassies are not only for visa or for passport works. The embassy goes beyond visa and passport works. You see, the embassy largely serves as a critical platform for a lot of diplomacy work. We have trade attaches in the embassies. We do scholarship activities in the embassies. There's a whole lot of strategic dealings that goes on in the embassy. So for you to come out and say that because of a certain fraud allegation, you are closing the entire embassy, That is an embodiment of a country in another man's land. That we disagree. We could have done this without closing the embassies. That is one major issue the minority has against the decision that have been taken by the.
But then this closure is just temporal. So why not allow for the investigations and then after that, it's opened?
Have you costed? Hold on. Have you costed the cost that would the closure for temporarily have cost to the country? Have you imagined or averted your mind to the diplomatic relations that this temporal, so-called temporal, will affect the country? No. That is our point. We believe that this that the minister has done would cause a lot of damage to the reputation of the country. I think stakeholders would be comfortable dealing with an embassy that no less a person, the minister, has declared that embassy as a fraudulent area and has closed it down. You think as a US as a state will be comfortable dealing with you coming from the minister?
Would you tell us what Parliament would do, your side would do, when Parliament resumes tomorrow?
Don't worry, we are still consulting.
Parliament resumes tomorrow. We'll see how the minority approaches this particular subject. Meanwhile, a former consul general at Ghana's consulate in New York, Daniel Kingsley Atabafo, says a decision to shut down the embassy will have real impact on Ghana's image abroad and should be reconsidered.
This thing needs to be investigated thoroughly before maybe a decision is taken. Because what? You cannot close down an embassy. You see, whilst the Americans, they know that they haven't had any problem with Ghana. Why should Ghana close its embassy? And what are the people going to think about Ghanaians if you close down the embassy?
And then government reaction to this is the temporary closure of the embassy. All staff members asked those who are there as employees of foreign affairs posted to the embassy, they are coming back home.
That one, for me, a former consul general and a diplomat, I think that one is too harsh because what about a secretary who is working over there? What about home-based officers who are at any point not even closer to the job that this gentleman is doing? And then you combine all these people. No, I think what we should look at is we should ensure that we maintain the activities of the embassy.
I heard that the former consul general at Ghana's consulate in New York, Daniel Kingsley Atabedu, speaking there to my colleague Elton Broby on the Pulse, and that's it for News Night tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening.